Welcome to Rust Rescue. Today we're going to be doing some more work on our pet project, our 72 Pontiac Le Mans GTO. Now, as you guys know, when we got this baby, she was completely rusted out. We've cut out the floor pans and the trunk and replaced all that metal work. We also got the engine running, and we've only spent about $450 so far in parts. So today we're going to start working on the suspension. We think this car was sitting in deep mud for a long time because this thing is filthy. We've got caked on dirt and debris all over the suspension, the chassis. So before we can start swapping parts, we have to get her cleaned up. Then we're going to start replacing the ball joints and the control arm bushings, and we're going to tackle the brakes. So let me go grab the guys and we're going to get to work.
Did you get the wheel off?
Yeah, it's off now.
That one's not too bad.
Just a little dirty.
Not really.
Speaking of dirty, how did you get dirty so fast?
I already did the other side.
Oh.
Remember that bird's nest we had?
On top of the game.
Yeah. So, all right, let's get this completely apart and get it cleaned up, painted, and put back together.
Here we go. Start of a fun day.
All right, we'll give these a good spray down with some penetrating oil so that when we go to break some of these bolts off, they'll at least be somewhat workable.
They don't like to move after sitting for a while. They like to stay where they're at, so that penetrator will help.
10 years in this mess, I mean. We'll get that okay. Now, what you have to do is you're going to take your dust cover off, which this one's going to be a bear. I can see it already. But just kind of grab it and kind of yank on it a little bit. They actually have tools for this, but we don't need no stinking tools. And then you got your carter pin underneath here.
Idea.
Just grab a hold of it, wedge it, pull once, and it comes right out.
Because I was that guy that tried to use the pliers.
Yeah,
so good idea.
You were the same guy that tried to get the shock absorbers off that way. Yeah, these you're not going to reuse that. Yeah. So don't worry about cutting it up. Then what you have to do is you're going to take the nut off. Now, once you get this off, I'll show you a trick. Don't take it completely off. Just hit it once and the bearings will come right out.
Oh, that's a good little tip.
Now I'll show you another trick once we get this out. Let's get that bearing out. This, you got to make sure you don't put it anywhere where it's going to get dirty.
Correct.
So put it back in the cap. Now, we got lucky. The hub is loose. Usually these things are locked in place because everything is rusted in. Put the nut back on, slide it off, tilt it downward, and pull once, and it'll pull the back bearing and the race right out.
There's your
One
back
shot.
bearing.
Yep.
Right
and you
there.
drop my bearings on the floor. That's okay. We got to change them anyway. Now the hubs look pretty good, so we're going to kind of keep these for now. We'll clean them up and paint them. But
yeah, they don't look like they're in bad shape. They got a lot of life left in them.
I think well, down the road we're gonna upgrade this thing. But right now, she's okay the way it is. But if you see all the gunk that's in there, wow, that's got like spiders and stuff and everything living in it.
I got a nature museum right there.
All right, let me go grab some tools and let's take this all completely apart. Okay guys, one of the tools you're going to need to get the front end off is a ball joint fork. It's called a separating fork. I've heard people call it a pickle fork, not sure why. The way you would use this is you put this between the ball joint and the actual spindle itself. You hit it with a hammer here, and because of the taperness of the end of the fork here, it'll basically separate the ball joint, popping it off. You can get it off without using one of these, but you run the chance of beating the spindle and cracking that. We strongly suggest you go to one of your companies, Harbor Freight, Advanced Auto, Northern Tool, any of them, and grab yourself one of these forks. It's going to save you a lot of time and a lot of effort.
There you go. Good old breaker bar.
got the shock absorber out, we've got the hub off. The next thing we got to do is pull the spring out. You want to be real careful doing this, because if you lower that too fast and that spring pops out, you may have a spring sticking out of your wall, or worse than that, you may hurt your leg, you can break a bone. It's got some power behind it. So we're going to do this real simply, real easy, and we're going to run like heck if it breaks free. All right, always remember, pull the shock absorber out first.
Okay.
Okay, while we're waiting for the parts to dry, we're going to take the hub unit and we're going to basically rebuild it. We're going to give this a whole new brake job, all new pads. We're going to change the wheel cylinders. We're going to do a good spruce up of it, give it also a coat of paint, brand new brake lines, just pretty much give it a complete overhaul. While it's apart, it's easier to do it on the bench. It can be done on the car itself, but this is just as easy. Okay, let's get started. Okay, first thing you're going to want to do is grab a couple of brake tools here. This one we use to take off the springs that hold on the actual brake shoes. And this is a neat little tool. This actually takes off the main springs and also puts them back on. Now that we've got all the parts disassembled, they're a lot easier to clean like this. We're going to clean these down. Don't forget, when you paint the spindle part, to cover the end piece here where your bearings go, because you don't want to have that full of paint. We'll show you how to do that in a little bit, but let's clean this thing off. Let's get it all painted up, and this way we can reassemble this, show you how you do it. Okay guys, we've got the parts all cleaned up and all painted up, ready to go back on the car. First thing we're going to have to do is we're replacing all of the bushings. We're going to replace the ball joints. I'll explain a little more about that in a few. Get this all back together and basically get it back on the car. Now, your upper ball joints, if you notice, go in with 4 bolts. They're basically riveted in to start with. You cut your rivets, pull them out. Your bottom ball joint is a little different. You have to go and either rent out or buy a ball joint press. Advanced Auto, AutoZone, all those guys carry them. Basically what it does is it presses the ball joint in, hit it with a hammer a couple of times, you're good to go. Once you get them all sealed up and ready to go, put everything back in the car. We'll change the brakes. We'll give it a whole new look on the brake drums, repack all the bearings, and get this thing back on the road. Let's get it going. Okay guys, we're ready to put the ball joint and the lower control arm. Like I mentioned to you before, you want to go to Advanced Auto, AutoZone, any of those guys, and use their loaner tool. Basically, what we have here is a ball joint press. It's probably the only way you're going to get this ball joint in, unless you have a hydraulic press that you could use that somebody might have, but most people don't have that, so we just use one of these. Let me show you how it works. What I usually do is put a little bit of axle grease around, or bearing grease, or whatever you really have, around the area where the ball joint is going to go in. Then we're going to place the ball joint in place. You want to take one of the sleeves. There's about 3 or 4 of them, different sizes, I guess, for different size ball joints. Get one that fits as close as possible. Then you've got 2 of the shims. The one that has the bigger hole is the one that goes on top. You also have a little bit of a ring set up here. That's to lock it in place on there. Same principle on the bottom. You push that piece over here, and then what you do is just basically squeeze it all together. When you're done, that's kind of what it should look like. You have a space here on the bottom where the screw itself sits in, flat on the bottom of the ball joint. You have the top piece with the hole we showed you earlier for the bolt that's on the ball joint. Turn on your compressor, because that's the easiest way to do it. Okay, you're going to find a socket big enough to go on the end of that. You're going to put your air gun on it, and you're going to tighten it. Alright, check your seal, make sure everything's in good shape, make sure it's tight around the ball joint, and you're all set. That's ready to be put on the car. Alright, now you remember when we took the spring off, how we mentioned be real careful because it's under a lot of tension and it could break free and hurt somebody. Well, putting it back on's a little tricky in its own right. What you're going to want to do is pick up a spring compressor. This is an old style spring compressor. They have ones that you see that are 2 separate ones. That's not what you need. That's for struts. They're a little bit different than the spring compressor. The way this works is this goes inside the spring, you clamp it on, and then you actually compress the spring to bring it down to about here. Now it's small enough where you can actually put everything together. Once you get everything bolted up, you get the drum put back on with the hub, and all the ball joints locked back in place. You loosen this up, it snaps back in place, and you take this piece out of the bottom where you would install your shock absorber. We'll show you exactly how to do that right now. that should be small enough to go back into the car. Always remember, leave them laying this way just in case they break free or if the tool breaks, because it'll take off like we said before. Let's go put this in the car.
Hey Terry, you dropping it off right now? Okay, yeah, sure. I'll be out in just a couple minutes. Great, thanks. I just got a call from one of our viewers, and he's got a new project car that he wants us to do some sort of custom work to. He won't tell me what it is, so while the guys are busy cleaning up the front end of our Le Mans, I'm going to go out and see what he's brought us. Let's go. Hey Terry, how are you? Good to see you.
Glad to see you too.
Okay, I'm confused. This is a Chevy. You're a Ford guy. What are you doing with this thing?
Well, like you said, I'm a Ford guy. But a friend of mine had me bring this Chevy over to Vince because he knows he does good things to me.
So this isn't yours. It's for a friend. Okay, well, it's beautiful. This is not the rust bucket that we're used to seeing. What does your buddy want us to do to it?
Well, he's got a few things that he wants to do to it. First off, he's complaining that he's got oil, water in the oil, and he got a bad blow-by.
Okay, so we've got a couple things we need to fix so that it runs properly.
That's correct.
What else?
Okay, next thing he wants to do, he wants to turn this into an SS.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, first of all, he wants, change the color. He wants to get rid of this red, and he wants to turn it into something more of the SS style.
Okay, so like one of the old black ones.
You got it.
Okay, so we could put an SS nose on it.
That's right.
And then paint the whole thing black, and that would give it that really
that
classic.
Like something he's after. Yes.
Okay, that sounds great.
Yeah.
What about the interior? It looks like we need to get some stuff in here.
Well, on the interior, what he wants to change the gauges in it. You kind of give a more sportier SS look to it, and then plus a few other things that are in here.
Well, I see the upholstery is torn up, so why don't we just do a complete custom interior for him?
That sounds like a winner.
Okay, we'll give it the old Rust Rescue custom look, and we'll get him something really amazing.
That sounds like a plan.
All right, sounds good.
Appreciate it. He'll really like it.
Thanks for joining us today on Rust Rescue. We got a ton of stuff done. We got new bushings and ball joints installed, and we cleaned up and repainted the springs.
And next thing I get to do is go look for a wiring harness for this car, because usually they're pretty trash by this time. So the next thing Vince gets to do is put together the front end and do some body work, which is always fun.
And we're also going to start on our new Chevy Nova project. We know that there's something wrong with the engine. There may be water in the oil, or it may be something a little more scary. So we're going to tear it apart, see what's wrong with it.
If you guys want to see more, check out our Facebook page and YouTube channel.
We'll see you next time.